part of my life for my entire life. And I think the most important thing to consider is do your best. There's no one right way to be sustainable. And that's especially true of cosplay because you don't have to just use recycled materials. You could buy expensive fabric that has been made in a sustainable way and it's still sustainable. You could have chosen to not make a mock-up out of mock-up fabric, but instead bed sheets. And that's still a practice that's been incorporated into your cosplay. It all counts. So we don't need like a couple people being perfect at environmentalism and sustainability. We need everybody just doing their best. So one of my favorite things is using these types of materials in cosplay is kind of its own sport. And many of the cosplayers that I follow online who use these materials, they come up with really unique things every single time they make a cosplay. So I think it is its own art form. I've seen some discussion about adding a like recycled materials thing to cosplay competitions recently. So yeah, the other things we're going to look at, other cosplayers who use these materials and became cosplayers, my own experiences, as well as yours, and then your experiences at the end, which should be fun. So the effort triangle. Raise your hand if you've heard of the effort triangle. Yeah, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. When we're looking at using like reused materials, they're not always going to be on the shelf at the thrift store, right? So thinking about the amount of time it takes to find your material, the type of material that you want, and the cost. So like I said, you could buy like $20, $30 a yard sustainable fabric that's been made in like a certain place and is blue sign certified, which just means ethical. It's ethically made and sustainably made and low impact wise. You could buy that, or you could plan ahead, and when you're going to the thrift store, look for your materials there. Have like a running list of the cosplays that you want to make, and take that list with you to the thrift store, and just plan a lot of time to look for those materials, because you can make a cosplay quickly, but you might have to spend more to get the materials you want, or you can plan ahead and hopefully spend a little bit less.
So, just for example, the bow I made for the charity auction, all of the leather on that bow was sourced from handbags that I got at a local thrift store. So if I had gone to Tandy Leather and bought, leather, like buy the hide or whatever, and had to prepare it, dye it, make it the proper colors, where it would have cost, much more, and would have been, using virgin materials versus going and finding leather that is the right color, feel, etc., and then just preparing it by cutting it into strips and applying it to the costume. And that goes for tons of things. If you have a small detail and you don't want to have to go buy a half a yard of something, you can almost certainly find something at a thrift store that is close enough fabric. I've cut up countless garments to just get that little piece of whatever fabric I need, and that saves you time and money, and is upcycling versus say having to go to a big. If you have a very specific fabric you're looking for, or if it's some kind of specialty fabric, it can be very expensive and time consuming to sort through, say, S.R. Harris and find that molded cloth.
Yeah, exactly. That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
awesome. And actually, one of the cosplayers that I have in here, we'll see it when we get to that slide, but they use, those like thin purse straps that come with some purses, those awful thin purse straps. I see a lot of them now. Yeah. Just take those off the purse. Get a better purse strap, or use it as like a handbag. Those purses are great trim. And excellent leather-like looking trim. But we'll get to that too. Did I have anything else in my notes, or are we just gonna go on to the slide? Nope, just plan ahead is kind of the big note there. All right, so Ginny D is a cosplayer that I particularly admire, and the cosplays here edges of that fabric is already finished for you. So if you want to make a skirt or a shirt, and you don't want to have to worry about finishing the edge, think about that bottom line or that edge of fabric and how you can align your pattern to the edge of that fabric so that it's like finished already, you don't have to worry about it. Anything like that?
Sorry, I'm being told right now that I need to be at another panel. I guess my panel was at now instead of at 4 like I thought. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Do you have different cosplay panels that's going on?
Yes, there's.
According to the brochure, it's at 4.
Yeah.
I need to wait for some confirmation.
right.
But yeah, the other Kiki, one of the other cosplay guests is saying that. But yeah, in the it says 4 in the pamphlet, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what Shanna said earlier.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry for that. Anyways, I was having a little crisis, but anyways, I'm gonna hang out here till somebody tells me different. But anyways.
So the cosplayer I mentioned who used the little purse straps, you can see it on the edging here where there's the pearls. It's a beautiful edging to her leather shoulder armor, and it's just purse strap. Easy to put on, easy to find on those little purses. And then also, other things she used, she tore apart boots to get the buckles. So she took the buckle off of the boots and used that on, I believe, her belt, because she wasn't going to wear those boots anymore. I pretty much see that style of boot almost every time. Oh, and this cosplayer also scrapped an old cosplay. So she had already made an Ariel cosplay. Rather than starting from scratch, she took pieces from that Ariel cosplay to make this absolutely spectacular warrior Ariel cosplay. Next we have Avant-Geek. And this one's, it's avant-garde, much like in her name, where she used actual garbage and paper mache it into a cosplay. It's pretty out there, it's pretty awesome. And the other thing here is, I don't know that these curtains are thrifted or not, I can confirm that on her social media, but it is curtains that she used to make this red dress down here, down in the corner. All curtains, and it's gorgeous. Lots of material.
Another trick for getting large amounts of material that, and actually, for the filming of Game of Thrones, to make those big wolf pelt outfits, they actually upcycled big shaggy rugs from IKEA. Like the actual costumes for the show were those big shaggy bathroom rugs as a fur substitute. So there's so many places to look for, especially when you need large amounts of fabric. Rugs and curtains are just a great resource.
Yeah, thinking outside the box. I think part of the most fun thing about using upcycled materials. All right, so this cosplayer, the Hellboy cosplay, was all thrifted. Every single, well, not the horns and the arm piece, that was handmade by her, but the top, the pants, she went to the thrift store, found them, and added them into her cosplay. And then the Monarch cosplay was all like originally purchased for another cosplay. However, she had this idea to do a stash bust. So raise your hand if you're a cosplayer and you have a stash of fabrics that are left over from another project that you just haven't gotten to yet. A stash bust challenge, just like looking at that fabric. What else can I use this for? What's another project that this can be used for? And challenge yourself to only use your stash. That's reusing. And that's sustainable.
And it doesn't just have to be fabric. I've completely torn apart old costumes, beat up costumes to reuse LED strips, lighting, electronics, anything that you can salvage. I've salvaged from using silicone molds. Silicone mold pieces cut up can fill space in silicone, in fresh silicone, because it'll bond into that empty space. So if your mold casing isn't extremely tight, you can just reuse all that, toss it in there as a space filler.
especially for like dice makers.
Yep.
Who use a lot of silicone. That's awesome. All right, and then my examples. I have my award-winning Swicoon, my Ewok, and the Mimikyu that I'm wearing today. So Mimikyu is made out of curtains, stuffing from an old pillow, scrap craft foam, which, where is the craft foam? I don't remember. It might be in the ears. An old headband I also dance, is in the name. And this was part of a costume from a dance outfit that I had. I used it to hold the ears on my head. And repurposed pants from a mock-up. So the pants that I wore, or that I'm wearing, were a mock-up for a different dance costume that I was making. I was trying to figure out how to make harem pants that would work really well for a lot of people with a lot of different body shapes. So I made the mock-ups, decided that they looked good, and was like, I want to reuse this for something. So it was again that I used this. It didn't look terrible, but what can I use this for? And that's how Mimikyu, this cosplay kind of came to be.
I've definitely built costumes off of, I have this unique object. My Mrs. Nesbitt Buzz Lightyear costume was because my dad found a clear plastic dome bird feeder at a garage sale. And that's the only reason I made that costume back in 2009. That's, front page Imager every 3 months since.
Oh, that's awesome.
But, yep, so it was one of those, this unique piece of garbage is now going to become a costume.
Yeah, don't limit yourself by what you see other cosplayers doing. Let your imagination just run wild with whatever you can find. It's so much fun.
Well, and there's what I like to call is shopping for shapes. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to I need a tube this long, of whatever, or something with a dome shape like that. So I'll go to the grocery store and I'll look at bottles or any kind of commercial packaging and think, I can reuse that as this shape for this prop or something. I mean, with a little bit of heat treatment, heat gun, and some, trimming stuff, you can take, garbage that are, product packaging and repurpose it into, something that is going to take a lot less time than, say, carving and casting and making something, fabricating something from scratch. And the same goes with thrift stores. If you find something in parts of toys. I mean, that's how a lot of, especially old school movie stuff was made. The original lightsaber was part of a flash bulb matrix for a camera. It's
That's fascinating.
yeah.
That's really cool. And Nerf gun. Who hasn't found a Nerf gun at a thrift store and gone, what can I turn this into? There you go. Hey, that's awesome. All right, so the next one of my examples is the Ewok. It was thrifted remnant fabric. So the green hood was, I found at a thrift store. It was just somebody's cast off fabric that they donated. I took that remnant fabric from an old project. That's in the ears. I actually do know where the bone is on that one. A belt made from a thrifted skirt. It was a leather skirt. It did not fit me. So I tore it apart because the leather was good. There's still pockets left of it that I have to put on something else. And I made the belt so that it would fit my dimensions. It was already pressed into the shape that I needed. All I had to do was make it look the way I wanted and attach it to my body. Beads from a recycled craft store. Okay, here's my favorite tip. There's a craft store in St. Paul that is called Art Scraps. They have recycled, people donate their old beads. They donate their old yarn. And I'm talking high quality beads here. I'm talking glass, ceramic, metal, beautiful beads. And they sell it at pennies on the dollar. So if you need a good place to source beading material like that, that's a really, really great source that I've used a lot. It's my favorite place to go shop. They also have, they had did kimono fabric in once, and they did manage to reach out to a company who wanted it, but they've had beautiful fabrics in there too. Basically, like, you know, people on Summit Hill start a craft and decide they get bored of it, so they donate it to this place. Great place to find items. Any item recommendations?
I do a lot of shopping at Axeman Surplus.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great place to shop for shapes or anything that you need to. But now I gotta check out this place. 'Cause
Yes,
I've never
yeah.
even heard of that. That
Artist
sounds
craft.
up my alley for sure.
Yeah. It's really great.
But
Right where
Axeman,
my apartment was.
Axeman, you can get lots of electronic components too if you're trying to put lights in something. You know, any is hardware for belts and clasps. They have very cheap compared to getting them from any kind of commercial retailer.
Awesome. I'll check that place out, so I know from there.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and my last one, my Spycoon. This was one that was, I took a lot of time to make this one. So this cosplay came together over 8 months as I was sourcing materials, learning how to sew, because I finished my master's degree and needed something to do. And the materials are, once again, remnant fabric that I thrifted from a thrift store. This is all blue. The white is scrap fabric from a white mage cosplay that I made. All of the foam is from old projects that I just managed to like squeak the shapes onto. So the repurposed remnant fabric was this like fluttery blue fabric that I got from the remnant pile at Joann's, but I took all of the feathers off of it and edged my skirt in it so that the skirt would kind of feather and flow as it moved. So this one was designed for dancing, and then I put the cosplay on top of it, kind of. And then these, once again, from that recycled craft store, all of the beads that are on this cosplay are from that recycled craft store. And then the wigs are too that are spliced together. So this is an example of, it took me a long time, but it was worth the wait to get all of the materials that I wanted. All right. So primary methods that we talked about today: thrifted clothing, altering. Oh, we didn't talk about altering thrifted clothing. The cosplayer that I mentioned first, Ginny D, has a lot of videos on YouTube on how to quickly learn how to pattern in an easy way. So learning how to pattern can take time, but there are a lot of shortcuts that you can do so that you can use the materials that you want to use from the thrift store. Yes.
What's the name of that, cosplayer again?
Yeah, let me just go back to that slide. It's Ginny D. She has a YouTube channel. So she actually has a video on the Princess Leia cosplay, but she also has a lot on how to learn how to pattern using thrifted clothing. Really, really great resource. Yes.
What was the name of that recycled craft shop again?
Art
Art?
Scraps.
Art Scraps. Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
So altering thrifted clothing, you don't have to like take the shirt off the shelf and just put it on. You can alter it really easily with darts, cropping it, removing pieces of it, like what you mentioned, and putting together a really great looking costume that already has finished seams for you. Reusing materials, so bed sheets, curtains, shoes, purses, and then upcycling materials from jewelry or old cosplays. That's another place that you can get some really nice pieces, jewelry at the thrift stores. And some other ideas, bed sheets for mock-up fabric. I think I mentioned that already. Bed sheets are a lot of fabric, and you can find them for super cheap. Buying clothing from the thrift store to tailor to your needs. Online thrifting. There are multiple online thrift shops that are really wonderful. I really like to use ThreadUp. They have a great organization system. I know a lot of people like Poshmark because it can alert you when an item goes down in price. The downside to ThreadUp is it is mostly feminine clothing and some children's clothing. And then think outside the box. Yeah.
If you're in like some Facebook craft groups or cosplay groups, you can always ask if anyone has a scrap of a certain color, rather than having to buy a fresh shirt.
That's a great idea.
I've also had a lot of good luck on Depop, which is another consignment, online consignment store.
What was the name of that one?
Depop, D-E-P-O-P. you know, as far as sourcing materials, I'm not above going into a cardboard dumpster and getting as much cardboard as I need, though nowadays I feel like I have cardboard coming out of my ears thanks to Amazon and
IKEA.
Chewy and everything, so, but I certainly have done a lot with, between a hot glue gun and cardboard strips, because you can do considerably detailed sculpting with cardboard if you know how to work with it right. And I remember when I lived in Duluth, when I was in college, I had a specific company that I would go sneak into their dumpster after dark and load up my trunk with cardboard, so.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome. This is the last one? Oh, no. Ways to make this easier, I've already mentioned this. Give yourself more time to source materials. Making cosplays in a sustainable manner is usually not fast. Like when we think about that effort triangle, time is usually the thing that you're going to have to compromise on, and just give yourself a lot of it so that you can have the time to source the materials out. Oh, we already talked about shoe stores, but some thrift stores are just great for certain things. And if you go to a lot of thrift stores, you're going to know what type of clothing, what type of materials come into that thrift store more often. So visiting a thrift store on a regular schedule can help you like know which thrift store to go to when you are short on that time. Yeah.
So I'm from Fargo, North Dakota, and I come to Minneapolis pretty frequently, but we also have a Savers in Fargo. So I'll ask my relatives if they have anything they want to donate. I'll donate in Fargo, get that coupon for 20% off,
Nice.
and then the next time I'm in the cities, I go ham on all their stuff.
That's a
So a lot of thrift stores let you donate stuff, and I like to think the suggestion is to like fool your family, see if they need to like donate their toaster or something.
Yep.
That's a great idea.
Coupons are great.
Yes. Yeah.
I just cleaned out my closet and a storage shed, and I got a ton of room now.
Yeah.
All I did is drive it up to Savers, and they unloaded the whole thing for me.
Wonderful. Yeah.
I'm also from Fargo, North Dakota. I know the exact Savers he's talking about. This
one is
entire
so
outfit is actually I was the Master Chief.
Oh,
The
yeah.
entire
Oh,
thing was
sweet.
from Savers,
Huh.
except for the helmet and the paint. And
Awesome.
Savers itself, if anybody's in the North Dakota, Savers and Goodwill are the cheapest thrift stores there.
In the Twin Cities,